In the quiet town of Marlow, Dr. Andrew Clark was a beloved figure. A small-town doctor, he had dedicated his life to his patients and his family. For over 2 decades, he had been the trusted physician to nearly every household, and his kind, reassuring presence had earned him the respect of the entire community. To everyone who knew him, Andrew was the perfect doctor, a devoted husband, and a father who lived for his family. But one fateful morning, Dr. Clark's disappearance shocked the town to its core. When his receptionist arrived to open the office, the door was locked, the lights off, and there were no signs of the doctor. His car was still parked in the driveway, and his personal effects, his phone, wallet, and medical bag were all untouched. Alarmed, his wife, Lisa Clark, was contacted. When she arrived, her worst fears were confirmed. Her husband was gone without a trace. At first, investigators assumed the worst. They considered the possibility of kidnapping or some form of violence. The town was in a state of disbelief. How could a man so respected by everyone just vanish? No ransom note, no signs of struggle, no indication of foul play, just an empty office and a missing doctor. Detective Sarah Lambert was assigned to investigate Dr. Clark's sudden disappearance. Her first instinct was to gather as much information as possible from his family, friends, and colleagues. Lisa, though devastated, seemed to be genuinely unaware of any problems in her husband's life. She described Andrew as a devoted family man with no known enemies. But as Sarah delved deeper, she began to uncover small cracks in the perfect picture. The more Sarah probed, the more she learned about Andrew's life outside the clinic. It wasn't just his patients that Andrew had been hiding things from. Sarah discovered that, in the weeks leading up to his disappearance, Andrew had been spending long hours at the office and taking unexplained trips. He had even been seeing a new patient, an elderly woman named Margaret Hayes, whose daughter, Claire, had recently returned to Marlow after years of estrangement. Claire Hayes, a troubled woman with a checkered past, had moved back to care for her mother. Sarah quickly learned that Claire had been in a secret romantic relationship with Dr. Clark. As the investigation unfolded, it became clear that Andrew had been living a double life, one that no one in Marlow had suspected. With the discovery of the affair, the investigation shifted. Claire Hayes became the primary suspect. Her secret relationship with Dr. Clark, coupled with her complicated history, made her a logical suspect. Sarah learned that Andrew had been planning to leave his wife, Lisa, for Claire. The motive was clear: a new life, free from the secrets and guilt of his marriage. But there were still too many unanswered questions. If Andrew had been planning to leave, why hadn't he made arrangements to start his new life? Why did he leave everything behind? His car, his wallet, his phone. It didn't add up. And Claire, while seemingly involved, had an alibi for the morning of his disappearance. She was at her mother's house, caring for Margaret. As Sarah dug deeper, she found an even more troubling lead. Andrew had recently made a large withdrawal from his bank account, a sum far greater than what he would normally use. Had he been planning to disappear, or was someone else involved? The breakthrough came when Sarah found Andrew's private journal. Hidden in a drawer in his office, the journal contained a series of entries that painted a very different picture of Dr. Andrew Clark. In the final pages, Andrew wrote about his growing guilt over the affair with Claire and his fear that his secret would soon be discovered. But there was one entry that stood out. "I fear she will never let me go. I don't know how much longer I can keep running from the truth." It wasn't Claire who had the power over Andrew. It was his wife, Lisa. The truth was even more shocking than Sarah had imagined. Lisa, devastated by her husband's disappearance, had been hiding something of her own. Andrew had been trying to leave her for months, but Lisa had found out about the affair and had become desperate. The final confrontation between the couple had been explosive. Andrew had planned to leave, but Lisa was determined to keep him. The journal revealed that on the night before Andrew's disappearance, Lisa had confronted him in a fit of rage. It was clear from the writing that Andrew had planned to leave the following morning. But Lisa, in a moment of emotional turmoil, had taken matters into her own hands. She had staged his disappearance, making it appear as if he had been kidnapped. In reality, Andrew Clark was not missing. He had faked his own abduction to escape his life and his marriage. Lisa Clark was arrested for her involvement in her husband's disappearance. She had not physically harmed him, but her manipulation and emotional control had led to a situation where Andrew felt trapped. Lisa's desperation had pushed Andrew to stage his disappearance, a final act of escape from a life he could no longer bear. In the weeks following Lisa's arrest, the town of Marlow was left in shock. The man they had trusted, the doctor who had cared for their children and eased their pains, had been hiding a life full of secrets. The community struggled to reconcile the man they thought they knew with the man who had fled in fear of his own family. And as for Dr. Andrew Clark, no one knew where he had gone. He had left behind a trail of lies, and now he was a ghost, disappearing into the unknown. The case of Dr. Andrew Clark's disappearance became a cautionary tale about the hidden lives that can exist behind closed doors and the lengths to which people will go to escape their own truth.